Robbie Chambers from the English city of Preston by his 30s could not boast of a good income, but working at the most ordinary job, he could well be considered an average resident, while colleagues always singled out the guy, noting his cheerfulness, responsiveness, and most importantly, honesty. From this even more strange was the case, which greatly changed the life of the once smiling guy. Once it happened that the management accused the guy of fraud, not understanding the essence of the accusations. Robert tried his best to prove that he was not guilty of anything. However, no one wanted to listen to him. The anger of the boss in the address of his employee, who, by the way, worked for more than 1 year, eventually led to a shameful and unfair dismissal. Grief-stricken guy just did not know how to live further, because the dismissal will not help him. Neither to close the debt for rented apartment, nor to pay the looming loan. But this was just the beginning. Any attempts to find a new job time after time turned out to be unsuccessful for Robbie, because his former manager left more than negative feedback about him. After a few months and many job rejections, the guy's debt only grew. He realized that now he has nothing to do but to go down to the bottom of the social ladder, turning into a real vagrant. Since then, the man stopped being like himself. He was forced to live in free night shelters and eat scraps that were thrown into the trash cans of local establishments. And, probably, many people after that would stop believing in people, but, fortunately, not a new way of life, not offenses, did not make our hero say goodbye to his qualities, because in the end, it was they who gave the guy a second chance. One day, walking through the streets of Preston in search of a place to sleep, Robert noticed a sad girl who with all her appearance showed that she needed help, and, daring to talk to her, the homeless man learned that her name is Dominica, and today she has not the best evening. A 22-year-old University of Central Lancashire student had to walk home across town late at night, and it was all about the fact that she had lost her bank card and was left with no money at all. And her phone was dead, and she was walking in fear when she was approached by our unwashed hero. The man warned his stranger that he was not dangerous, and also hinted that a lonely girl should not be here. What to say, I think, not. It is not difficult to imagine how nervous Dominica was, but still she trusted the homeless vagrant and told her sad story. Probably anyone else in the man's place would have acted only sympathetically, but after listening to the sad story of the stranger, the homeless man without further ado caught a cab and on his last £3 sent the girl home to the neighbouring town of Lancashire. He realised that a young and beautiful girl had no reason to wander around the city at night. Of course, the stunned student didn't even know how to thank her saviour, and all she could find out about this kind man who so unexpectedly helped her while in terrible conditions was only his name. When the girl had already safely reached home, she was able to realize how generous was the act of the homeless man, but then she did not understand what could be thought of as a sign of gratitude. Only 2 days later, the girl came up with an idea of how to find the stranger and return the money spent. Dominica again went to the same place with food and £20 that could somehow help the poor man, but she did not find Robbie. Despite the failures, Dominica did not stop trying to meet the hero of that night, and after several visits she managed to find him. The girl decided to talk to him and learn more about his life, and soon she was struck by the amazing politeness of the homeless man. And, by the way, the girl could not expect such a thing. It seemed that Robbie did not belong on the street, because he was very modest and did not even want to take £20 from the girl. He simply said that any normal person would have done that, but we know that's not always the case. Dominica also found out that after all the turmoil in his life, the man has been living on the street for 7 months now and refusing to stay homeless. His main dream is to be able to rent an apartment and find a decent job. It turned out that it wasn't the first time Robbie had been in this situation, when he had given away lost wallets and other valuables and received only a word of thanks, or, at best, a couple of pounds. In general, Robbie's story moved Dominica to tears, and at that moment she realized that she had to do more for him than just hand him the money. The next day, on her Twitter page, the girl told about her amazing acquaintance, and at the end, she added that she would be glad to receive any donation from friends and acquaintances, which would go for the benefit of Robbie. Initially, the girl's goal was to raise at least £500 in order to rent an apartment for the first time, but very soon something happened that she did not expect. In just a few hours, her post was reposted by 1,000 people, and the donation of a symbolic £3, which Robbie spent then, came from users from all over the world, one after another. But that was far from the end of the story. A huge success was a repost in the record account of one of the major donation organizations, because in addition to the fabulous £20,000, which by that time had already gathered on the charity account on the story of Robbie, drew the attention of major media. After that, journalists personally came to Dominica, who said that she was very happy with such a reaction of people, and also admitted that in the peak of user activity to get to the page of fundraising for Robert was almost impossible because of the unusually large influx of people who wanted to donate their money. Nevertheless, the main task of the girl was to finally please her new friend, who at this time did not even suspect that while he continues to live his humble life, Dominica has turned him into a real celebrity. If it can be said that life creates the best scenarios, the joyful meeting was one of them. Having told about the success of his scheme, the girl finally handed Robbie the very money, and the reaction of the homeless man melted the hearts of millions of people. At first, he couldn't even describe the feelings he was experiencing, but the tears in his eyes spoke for themselves. The long-awaited smile again shone on Robert's face, and in the interview he admitted,
"I would never have believed that someone could do something like this for me. Having given then my £3, I did not expect any gratitude because I thought that at that moment they are much more necessary than Dominique."
After receiving such support, the man could not help but change his life for the better. Very soon he rented an apartment, bought a used car, and he was helped to get a job. Satisfied with her deed, the student happily shared with users the result of their donations. At the same time, she noted that the rest of the amount Robbie personally bought food and distributed them to those with whom just yesterday had to sleep under the bridge. Well, and of course this whole story, which happened back in 2014, could not help but bring together two people who once met by chance at night on the street. And so even today, Robert and Dominic remain friends.